welcome to Fox Valley Today. My name is Ann Vickery, and I'm on special assignment today here visiting with Amy Shelley. Hello, Amy.
Hi.
Amy is as you can tell, with the wheelchair, Amy is a disabled person and has been. She was born that way. Is that correct, Amy?
Yes, I was born with cerebral palsy.
And when we were talking about this earlier, you were saying that you were actually not diagnosed until several months after you were born.
Yes, correct. I wasn't diagnosed with cerebral palsy until I was a year old.
And when you were diagnosed, and I know you don't remember all of this, but you probably had, did you feel like you had a fairly normal childhood up until you went to school?
Obviously there were some things that I couldn't do, but my parents always made sure to treat me just like they would my brother. I have a brother who is 2.5 years older than I am. He is not disabled. They always raised us, the same as they would raise any other kid. They never looked at really my disability or didn't see me as being incapable of doing things.
Now I can tell. Obviously, and our viewers can tell you're in a wheelchair, and you do have some issues with your arms, and you're obviously not able to walk. But it's without a doubt
Actually, I can walk with a walker.
You can.
Yeah, I just don't use the walker when I'm out in the community.
Oh, now when you started school, when you were 5 or 6 years old, did you start at a local school?
No, I was bused to Joliet to go to school there until I was in the 4th grade, and I was with a classroom of 10 students. Only 3 or 4 of us could speak. So the classroom there had a variety of individuals with differing disabilities.
Different levels of disabilities, some of them which were unable to read or write or comprehend like you do.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So you were thrown in the midst of other people who are maybe even more disabled than you, and you grew up where did you grow up?
I grew up in Plano. So I'm a local girl, but...
Yes, you are. But I'm asking then, why could you not attend school? I mean, you have all your faculties and are obviously very bright. Why could you not go to school in Plano?
Well, because when I first started school, the school district had told my parents that would be the best placement for me because they were not equipped to handle a child like me with a disability. And then I didn't come back to the 4th grade because that was kind of when idea came about in the whole inclusion movement of getting children with disabilities back into their public schools.
Well, at that point, schools were forced to make the accommodations through either elevators, ramps, restrooms that were handicap accessible. Is that correct?
Correct. And I was the first student who they put ramps in at the school, those accessible bathrooms, all that kind of stuff. I was kind of the trailblazer, the pioneer of the whole inclusion movement for Plano.
Somehow I can see you as the trailblazer, believe me.
Yeah, that's kind of the role I've kind of taken all throughout my life, because even though I have this disability that might tend to want to stop a lot of people, it fuels my fire to keep accomplishing what I want to accomplish. And I don't, because of how my parents raised me, even though I have this physical disability, I don't see my limitations.
That is a real tribute there to yourself and to a lot of folks who are disabled. Now tell us a little bit about, you went back to Plano in the 4th grade, and then you went ahead through middle school, junior high, high school.
Sure.
In Plano.
Yes.
From there, and obviously you did very well in school?
Yeah, in high school and in high school I was on the National Honor Society and Student Council, honor roll.
So you were one of the smart girls.
One of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I always wanted to be one of them. It never worked out for me. But so from there you went?
From there, I went to Wabansie Community College, got my associate's degree in science, and then from there, I went on to Aurora University and got my bachelor's and master's degree both in social work.
You are incredible. Did anybody tell you that yet?
Yes, they tell me that a lot.
Okay, now, one of the issues that when you're disabled, I mean, and now you say you can walk, transportation. How did you get around? I mean, obviously you wanted to attend school events, sporting events. Then you went to college. You lived in Plano or Aurora at that point, and you went to Wabansie. How did you get back and forth?
Well, we moved to Aurora in 2001, so I graduated Plano in 2000. We moved to Aurora in 2001 because we were hoping that I would have more access to public transportation, paratransit, dial-a-ride, and all that stuff. So I used that a lot of the times when I could get, when I was able to use it, because to use that program or that system, you have to have a bus stop within 3/4 of a mile of where you're trying to go. So when I can't use the public transportation system that's out there for me, I find another way to arrange transportation.
So now, with this and having the disability and depending on public transportation, how about your job? You are a licensed social worker, and you either have a job or you're looking for a job, right?
I am currently looking for a job, and I have quite the employment history, actually. I started out with the Kendall County Special Education Co-op, which is the school system that I came out from as a disabled individual. I was employed by them from 2008 to 2010 as a school social worker, and I only got school social work after I was out for a period of time and was really struggling to find employment in the agency setting, because in the agency setting you have to be able to drive, you have to be able to do CPR, you have to be able to do a lot of other things that with my physical disability is somewhat difficult. But it's not impossible if employers are willing to work with me and making accommodations to help me do what I need to do.
Well, it would seem to me that with your incredible drive, your education, and the experience that you've had, obviously, as a lifetime disabled person, that somebody would recognize in you that you would have incredible qualifications and that they might really consider hiring you. So why do you think it's not working out?
I think a lot of it has to do with some of those, qualifications that I mentioned, especially the not being able to drive, because what I'm finding out is that not being able to drive is on every single application you ever fill out. So if I can't drive, legally I have to answer no. Even though I can get to and from certain places with some of the accommodations that we already discussed, I can't get get my foot in the door for those jobs, because a lot of the applications, they're on a automatic system where if I say no, then my application might get kicked out before they even get the chance to look at my resume or my qualifications.
Well, I think, I really would think that there would be an answer for this for you because, like I said, you seem to have a tremendous ability and a good way of relating to people, too. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and then we're going to come back, and we want to talk a little bit about your book, One Paw at a Time, a little bit about your service dog, Portland, and how he reacts and helps you. So this is Fox Valley Today. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Fox Valley Today. I'm Ann Vickery, and I'm here with my guest, and we're on special assignment, Amy Celli. And one of the things that we're highlighting today is it's the National Disability, name it.
National Disability Employment Awareness Month is October.
Okay, and what we're talking about here is looking for opportunities to hire the disabled, and that is correct, right?
Correct.
Okay, but we've talked a lot about how your whole life went and some of the issues and some of the terrific successes that you've had. But part of the successes you have had has been because you have had a very loyal companion. You've had a number of very loyal companions in your life. And you also wrote a book about it. Why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners about that?
I wrote a book that's called Making Independence Happen One Paw at a Time. If you've ever read the Trixie series books by Dean Koontz, my book is similar to that because the first part of my book is written from my service dog's perspective. His name was Yazin. So it goes through all about his life, starting out when he was a puppy, through the training that he went through with Canine Companions. And Canine Companions is a very unique organization because they train and place service dogs with people with disabilities or veterans that have disabilities. But they estimate that their dogs cost $45,000 to train and place. And that's just for one dog. But the really great thing about Canine Companions is that they give their dogs to the recipients completely free of charge. They get no government funding to help, raise the funds for these wonderful dogs. So all of their funding to be able to run and operate comes from private donations, comes from corporation donation, and things of that nature. And their dogs are just so completely amazing, and that's one of the reasons that I wrote the book, because I wanted to let people know what service dogs do for individuals with disabilities, but then I also wanted to share my side of the story as a person with a disability. And
So share your side of the story, Amy.
And some of the stuff that I went through. So I talk about, my school experience. I talk about, trying to overcome things that are maybe difficult and hard. I talk about the need for acceptance of your peers and of people in society. I talk about perseverance and having strength. And I'm also a Christian. So when I, grew up with my disability, there were days when I had what my mom likes to call pity parties, where it was like, oh, why me? Why me? Why do I have to go through this? But I'll be honest with you, I would not want to change a thing, because I wholeheartedly believe that my disability has made me stronger. It's made me into the compassionate person that I am today. And it's part of the reason why I decided to go into social work, because I wanted to help others with disabilities or unique challenges realize that they could be all that they wanted to be in spite of their challenges or whatever they might be going through.
So in your book, when you talk about this amazing dogs and this amazing organization, tell us some of the things these dogs did and helped you with.
Okay. Well, my dogs, I train them specifically. So they're trained by the time they leave the organization. They're about 18 months old by the time they get placed with a person like me. So they're trained to pick up things that we drop. They're trained to pull open doors. They're trained to tug things. They're trained to push the push buttons that are outside the library doors here. They're trained to do just a ton of stuff. And they know 45 commands by the time they leave the program. My dogs, since I've had them, I had my first one for almost 9 years. And I taught him additional things, like getting the remote for me. If I was down on the couch and I forgot the remote, I could say, "Get remote," and he'd go get the remote. I'd teach him how to go and get the phone, and he'd go and get the phone. One of the really great things that I've taught both of my dogs, though, is how to help me get out of my couch if the footrest is up, because part of my disability, my legs don't have a lot of strength to them, so I can't push the footrest down when I need to get back out of the couch, like you would be able to do.
What was the process, and how long did it take to get Portland?
It didn't take very long at all, because once you have a dog, Canine Companions is they understand how much those dogs do for the individuals that have them and how dependent you get on them for your day-to-day life and your independence. So probably I started the process, I believe it was in March, and I went to Canine Companions, which is in Ohio. I went to them in August of 2014.
And how long were you with them? How long did you go through training with Portland?
With Portland, I went through training for 2 weeks. That's what they call their team training process. And they, show us how to work with the dogs again. And that length of time doesn't change whether it's your first dog or your 13th dog,
Really, I find that surprising. I would think that a newbie would need a lot more training than somebody like you who knew how to work with a service dog.
Well, the way the program works, it's not so much to train the dogs, because the dogs already know the commands by the time we get to team training. So it's just basically teaching the humans how to command the dog and work with the dog. And it really, once you start working with them, it really doesn't take that long to understand, okay, this is what I need to do, this is how it needs to be, because the dogs are very quick learners.
Now, when you went to this Canine Companion school, was it for people that were disabled, similar to yourself, but it was not like for the CNI dogs?
No, this is, they primarily place dogs with individuals who have physical disabilities.
Now, if you were to get a job, and would Portland go with you to your work every day?
Yes.
Because he's a wonderful dog.
Yes, he is. And they both my dogs have been really great. Canine Companions only has about a 40 to 60% success rate of placing their dogs with people with disabilities, and that's because they have such high standards of what they expect out of their dogs.
So only 40 to 6% of the pups that are introduced into the program actually make the cut. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct. They also look at us, and we go through a pretty rigorous application process.
What was that like for you? What did they want to know about you?
They just ask us specific questions about like what we want our dogs to do for us. We'll then get information from our doctors about our medical background and all of that. And a lot of this is explained in greater detail in my book.
And in this book, you talk a lot about the canine program and how people can help or donate?
That is like half my book. Half my book is about my service dog and the training and the application process. And I don't really talk about how people can help or donate. As a chapter, we do a lot of different fundraisers and stuff like that. And I do have a link at the very end of my book that talks about some of the volunteer opportunities that are out there for a canine companion.
Sometimes that involves people taking in a pup and kind of fostering it up to a certain point, right?
If they want to do that, yes. We have volunteer puppy raisers, so if a person wants to raise a puppy, they can contact Canine Companions and get information about how they would go about doing that.
Well, this has been an excellent and enlightening interview, Amy, and I really thank you very much for all that you've done to enlighten all of our listeners and viewers about some of the challenges that you have and how you've overcome them. And you make me proud, and I don't even know you that well.
Well, thank you.
And Portland, I think he's a beautiful dog, and I think that you have a pretty good match here.
I do. When we got matched, it was almost, I only worked with him for about 10 minutes.
It was instant love.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Amy, for joining us today. We look forward to maybe having another interview in the future with you, and thank you and good luck to you.
Thank you.